Hey, Cyber Babies, it's the even more fabulous Mother Love. We're in studio number 2 here in Pasadena. I told you this is a pretty cool show. And today we have on, thank you all for joining us at first. First. And this chick, I know she part Jamaican because she got 11 jobs. Welcome to the program, Jessica Matthews, who is an artist. She's a entrepreneur. You just do everything, girl. Welcome to the program. It's good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We want to thank your publicist, Mr. Carlos Martinez, who absolutely, so you know he must love us because he makes sure we get hooked up. So let's get people caught up to speed. You're Jessica Matthews, and you do what? Tell Mother Love and this audience what we need to know that we don't know about you.
Okay, so I mainly am a producer. I produce a lot of unscripted television or documentary style TV.
Mhm.
And I also do a lot of independent films, both features and shorts. And I love telling stories. I feel like telling someone's story it can be really personal and lovely and sometimes disheartening. But, a lot of times there's room for growth and joy and everything in between. So I love telling someone's story, whether it's scripted or unscripted. Either way, you're sharing someone's world and getting it out there for people to see.
And what's beautiful, and I've always, not really not understood, but the format, when you said you do documentaries or documentaries like, and that you do short stories, it seems to me it's harder to tell a short story and get the meat and potatoes of it in than it is a long drawn out, take you 3 weeks to do it. What is your process, and how do you select what kind of products and projects you want to be involved in as the producer?
Well, I think that's a great question, and it's really important to really want to work on the subject matter because a lot of times, if you're working on a project and you're working on say, an indie feature film, you're working on that thing for like 3 years with
Mhm.
this team. So you better like the story and you better like the team, right? Because you'll be with them for a while. So, I, I mean, it really, I like stories that kind of they pull at the heartstrings or they get people talking, get people communicating about different subjects. Sometimes those things are kind of woven in to just the characters, who they are, or there's just like, for instance, Black, White, and the Grays is a story about it's a indie feature I did. It's a story about a interracial couple who's struggling in their marriage. They're going through everything Black Lives Matter, everything COVID 2020 together, and they're realizing that their views that they thought completely lined up, they don't necessarily totally line up the way they thought they did. So it was really a story about a couple who is realizing that not everything is always black and white, and sometimes there's a gray area, and sometimes you have to learn to live in the gray. And it's a heartwarming story. There's some tough subjects in there, and in the end, it has a nice ending. I don't want to give too much away, but
Oh no, that's what we just want to give them a little piece of meat. Just let them have a tasty morsel. And I'm
yeah. So
yeah,
it's
a
yeah.
tasty morsel. And people come to our house and like at holiday time and what have you, and they come in early because they know I have the tasty morsels, and they eat them all up.
There you go.
So and that's what it is. You just want to give them enough to say, "Oh, that smells lovely. I think I would like to have an entire plate of that." And speaking of having an entire plate of that, because you do shorts, have you ever been working on a story and you go, "This is more than a short," and vice versa, working on a project and go, "Oh no, this could be a short."
Yes, I recently worked on a short called Woke
Mhm.
with my good friend Christian Elder, and
Hey, Christian.
hi. And writer director. He's a visual artist. He's an amazing writer and visual artist and director. And anyway, we he had a feature for the feature. It's called Woke, the same name. And what we were looking to do, we thought about raising money for that, and we decided, you know what, let's do a short, let's do a proof of concept, let's get this out there, and that might be a great way for us to raise more money for the feature.
Hmm.
So that's what we did, and it is a story about two women who are struggling with their addiction. They're both vampires, and they go to feeders.
Oh,
Yes,
bloodsuckers.
yes, they go to Feeders Anonymous. So it's, you
Wait
know,
a minute. Wait. Back up just
it's not a comedy.
wait a
It
minute.
sounds like it, but when
Wait a
I yeah.
You gotta say that again, because I don't think I heard that right.
So instead of AA or NA, they go to FA, which is Feeders Anonymous. So they're trying to curb, yeah, they're trying to
That
curb
by
their
itself
addiction.
is hilarious.
Yeah, they're trying to curb
See,
their
sick,
addiction.
twisted people like you guys can come up with that. Then you find other sick, twisted people and go, yeah, let's do that. This is really sick and twisted. That's when you have the most fun, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
especially when you talk about having those teams together, because I've been on productions and, different things that I've done. And you see the production, the lighting people, the all the nuts and bolt people. And oftentimes they're the same group of people because you have to learn to trust your team. And your team needs to learn to trust you. And oftentimes when you're coming into that, you kind of got to feel your way through it. Okay, how crazy are they going to be? How crazy will I have to be, or how calm do I need to be? So when you're talking about producing, and I work with a lot of producers, and you all have like some crazy stuff in your head. Have you gotten to a project and you go, this is really crazy, Jessica? You really want to work on this? Do you talk yourself into or out of more projects?
I think that I think every project an interesting, take on a story, right? Or an interesting look, or maybe just needs a little help being, kind of like massaged from the beginning with like the script. Like, hey, this isn't exactly in the right place, but maybe if we develop this character a little more, or we this person really needs more of an arc. And when you kind of look at that and look at the story, I feel like you could probably talk yourself into doing, most projects. But like for instance, woke is, I mean, there's underlying issues that we talk about. I mean, we do it in a fun way with the vampires, right? But it's really, we're hitting on subjects that are in regards to one of the vampires. She was a slave, and then we are talking about addiction, and we are talking about these topics that we're kind of interweaving them throughout. But it's, someone might not realize that, oh, that's what this was about. So it's kind of, but also like with Black, White, and the Grays, it's getting people to talk, and people said, "Oh, were you in my house? Because I swear you were in my living room and you heard my conversation with my wife, because this is exactly what we went through." So I love that. I love when people can talk and communicate. So when I see a script and I think, "Oh, I think this could work," or, "Oh, we could get this organization involved and this organization involved," and really try to get it out there on a bigger scale, not just like distribution or film festivals, but really maybe try to help people. We did that with the short film Under. It's about two moms connecting, and it deals with the subjects of postpartum depression and human trafficking. And we worked with an anti-human trafficking organization. One of the moms in the film is escaping that. And then another mom is dealing with postpartum depression, and it's about how they come together and how one mom, it's like, well, this one mom risk everything in order to help this other mom. But we worked with Maternal Mental Health Now, which is an organization in LA that helps parents who are dealing with postpartum depression. And we worked with an anti-human trafficking organization as well. And we had people who had been trafficked read the script and give us the thumbs up, like, yes, this is real, this would happen, or this is similar to what I went through. So just trying to stay true to those topics. I had someone approach me recently on the subject matter of suicide, and I think suicide prevention is a big thing, and I'm looking forward to working on that and getting that word out there so that people feel like they're not alone. They have a voice. People can help.
And that's
Um,
one of the biggest things, especially our young people. They don't believe that anybody is seeing them, is hearing them, or understanding them. And I have been on the in an unfortunate position. But this kid was 14 years old, and he just didn't think anybody was looking at him. He didn't. He felt empty. He felt lost. He felt alone, and he tried to take his life. And he went in the garage. It was just awful. So now, to make a long story short, he recovered from that, and we thought he was on his way, to getting well, to addressing, because a lot of people, this like I do, they don't want to address the issue. I pretend it'll go away. I don't have to acknowledge it. I can do something else with it. And when you find out that, especially this hard topic of suicide, they just want the pain to stop.
Hmm.
They just wanted to stop. And he just wanted it to stop, and it didn't stop. And he ended up taking his life in the long run anyway. So when you get to something like that, and you know how many layers it can be, how do you, as a producer, as a storyteller, uh, how do you keep Jessica together? Because it's like, okay, you going into a room like that, and it's almost like you got to have all your battle gear on, because you could get sucked into that. How do you maintain Jessica, the human being, the loving, kind person who wants to have these stories told, to being able to say, "Oh, okay, I got to step away from this for a minute."
Well, I think I mean, you're right. There is a balance, and I mean, we just screened under, a lot of film festivals, and even so, now I still, oh, I should say too, writer director Alora Charles.
Hey, Laura, we didn't
But
forget
yes, yeah, yes. But we screened at all these festivals, and every time I'm still crying at the end. I know what's gonna happen. I know, you know, I know these are actors. But yeah, I definitely have a lot of empathy. I mean,
sweetie.
I can, yeah.
Just from an OG, from an original. I'm one of the original girls. Let me tell you, if you don't, because you can watch it as a viewer, and see,
Mhm.
that's a skill set, and you're not watching it, to pick it to pieces. When you say you always come out, you know what's going to happen, you're going to cry. That lets y'all know, everybody, she's a big waterhead. Don't let that pretty face fool you. She probably got waterproof mascara, lipstick, eyeliner, everything, and you know that. That's when you know you've hit that chord. When you can watch that as a producer, and you watch it as a viewer, and you go back. Now, do you nitpick your projects, or do you, after you do them, you hand it over to another team to say, okay, tell me what I did wrong?
I typically I'll allow like an editor, give them the grace and the space to be able to do what they feel, is necessary, right, with the first cut, and then give notes from there. So I like people to feel like they're creative, and that they have, the way, and it's always interesting to see how someone else sees something,
Mhm.
and then you can kind of take it and hone it in a little bit to more what you're thinking, or but it's always a collaboration, like it's
Mhm.
always a collaboration, and I
You
love
know,
that.
and teams out here, they give us a bad rap. They think, oh yeah, you're the producer, you think you're holier than thou, and you got the last say of the word. If that's what you think, let's go with that one. How about that? Since that's how you think, I know how to get around you, buddy. I can get around you, girl. So, and the importance of that collaboration. What is that process for you? And especially if you're going to starting to work on a new project, or maybe just a few of your core people coming over, and you've got to allow other people to come in and plug into you, and you plug into them. What is that process like? Because that can be harrowing and be snot every round like I was without thinking about doing this. This is crazy. You do you look in the mirror and you go, okay, Jessica, have you just lost your mind? Have you had those days yet?
I luckily, no, no, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there have been, yeah, I mean, it's not always going to be a great fit, right? But it's also, I mean, typically, like, I feel pretty good about people in general, and like and people that are, presenting something. And usually what I do is I'll read the script, and I give, I like giving general thoughts on scripts,
Mhm.
and depending upon what people want, like if it's like, this is going to be a working relationship, we know we're already, in it, then I feel good about giving very specific notes.
Mhm.
If it's something where, we're just starting to collaborate, those notes might be a little more general. Hey, I'd like to see this person do a little bit more of this, or oh, how fun would it be to incorporate this here, or just kind of those general notes. But definitely I get into the specifics on scripts, and
Mhm.
always try to make it, the best it could be. And I like working with people who that's the goal, right? It's
Mhm.
not just that I'm the note giver and they just do the thing or something, or but it's always like, oh no, I gotta go rewrite this. Um, but it's always a collaboration, and I feel like uh if people are like-minded in that regard, then you're gonna have a good story, right, overall, and also a good working relationship. And especially a lot of these projects you're working on for quite some time. So it's important to I think you
And
kind of know
and
too you're up
I
in
have
that
to
grade.
say, one of
Yeah.
the great things that you do is you bring in a lot of talented women to the table. And we have got to learn to work together in this business because they will not be able to survive without us. I don't know how much stupid they think we're stuck on. Really, really, really. And then you get those people. Have you ever had to kick anybody off the show, and when you knew it wasn't going to work, have you told anybody we're going in a different direction? That's the one that cracks me up.
Um, I mean, as far as like I did have someone once submit um some like a reel, and then I found out that it actually wasn't their projects. And we ended up having to like work around that and find someone else who was the right fit.
Mhm.
So I had that happen. That was a while back. But I haven't ever had to like fire just really like an actor or anything like that. I,
Mhm.
I mean, um, yeah, I mean, most of the crew, I always feel like if you have those strong department heads, like you have a production designer, and then
Mhm.
they say, I have this art director that I want to bring on, and this is them, and here's their work, and this is why.
Mhm.
I feel like if you're confident in those heads, like your DP, they have
Excuse
the
me,
crew that they
DP, the
oh,
DP, director of photography, right?
yes,
I,
yes.
yeah, I know some showbiz work.
So if you have like a director of photography and they have their first AC that they love and they want to bring them on, and the first AC has a second AC, you can generally, like, whatever the kind of vibe is that you're getting from those department heads, like the director of photography, I feel like you could kind of get that vibe from those other people as well. So, and obviously everyone is still interviewed and talked to and
Okay.
everything, but I like to try to make sure that those people feel comfortable that they're able to bring on people that they know and trust,
Mhm.
as a focus puller or whatever it is, so that they feel good about that day too, and they already have a working relationship with these people. So hopefully we can get people that they already know and trust on there, because it's just
Mhm.
going to make their day, it's going to make the day quicker too, because they know they can just talk to them in a quick language where it's like, hey, can instead of just, there's there's a little bit shorter language to that than
Mhm.
someone you've just met,
Mhm.
right? It's kind of, hey, can you grab me they know that there's no ill will there when you're asking for things,
Mhm. Mhm.
versus the way you might talk to someone that you've just met on set.
So, and that's really important to make sure that you got the right kind of people on. Because sometimes I don't know if it's happened to other people because people will come onto a project and think it's one thing, and then you tell them what it is, and okay, we're going to work together, and then they start getting crazy. I remember we were looking for an office assistant, to help us with the bookings and keep all the bells and whistles going. Day one, I kid you not. Day one, she came into the office, sat down, and told her this is her workstation. This is what we expect. She goes, "Well, mother love, I'm gonna need you to buy me a car." I was
Ah,
like,
yeah.
okay. And I did one of my mother love's move. I got her up out the chair. I put my hand on the back, first small of her back, and I said, "No, I'm not buying you a car. Matter of fact, you can leave like right now." And she goes, "Well, you don't have a bus line in here." I said, "What would make you think I would be on the bus line?" Okay, no, I'm not buying you a car. Then she went and told everybody, Mother Love would buy me a car. They said, "Did she promise you a car?" She went, "No." They said, well, you need to shut up because they come out here and they want to be in the business, but they don't know how to be in the business of show business. And that's like when as a producer, you got to wear 50, 11 hats. Sometimes you have a hat over here, one in the back, and one on the top, and you got to keep these hats moving. And it's a lot of work. You can tell the difference between an amateur and a professional. Amateurs look like they know what they're doing. Professionals make it look easy. They don't want to look at the work. They don't understand how much the work is. They don't really understand where their place in society or in their career is. Speaking of that, when did you know that this was going to be what you would do? And was this your calling or did they call you?
Okay, so I I hear you too about I've there's a sense of entitlement sometimes that's really funny to me. Or people just don't know how like you said, like how it works, right? It's like, well, actually, kind of works this way. But I actually was a business and economics major, and I got into yeah, I had all these econ courses, and we owned barbecue restaurants growing up. So in Florida, and I thought I was just going to run those. So I thought, oh, I'll go get a business degree. And then my last semester, I had one elective, and I was like, "Oh man, I have one elective. What should I do?" And I took acting for non-majors, and my acting professor was like, "You're really good. You should audition around town, or just try out for some stuff." And I did, and I got some roles for the university and local theater and things. And then I thought, I'm gonna move to Orlando and be an actor. So I I tried it there just to build up a resume and, see if this is what I wanted to do, and really thought about it before I moved out to LA. And then came out here and, started acting. And then in 2008, there was a movie that my friend said, "Hey, can you produce this movie for me? Savor the Insanity," written by Connie Monroe. And um, yeah, and I said, well, I guess, I could do it still. There wasn't a role though, but I did it, and then I really enjoyed the process. And I was like, oh, why did I like doing this? This is really weird. I wasn't in this. And then I realized that I really like telling a story. So whether it's, you're telling it by being an actor, you're helping cultivate the whole, general story by producing, whether like whatever that is, there's something in it that I just love. I love the whole process. So
As a storyteller, and that's really what we're about, telling stories and sharing stories and being willing to open up to the ugly stuff, because if we could see our ugly and we're sharing it with other people, that ugly doesn't stay ugly all the time, because you see a turnaround in yourself. What have you learned about Jessica and her growth from being in Florida to say, I'm going all the way to California where the crazy people live? I'm one of them. I get to say that. You know. So what was the moment you said, okay, or was it like a slow burn as you get up and you're moving up and then you go, I think I'm gonna move to LA.
well, I drove across country by myself. I came out here. I stayed in Burbank for a month and a half with friends just to get figure out where I wanted to be and get a lay of the land, and see the different cities. Where would I want to land if I was here? Do I like it here? All of that. So I did that. And then I went back to Florida, and I helped out. I was doing more stuff in our restaurants for a while, and then I finally like made the move. But I feel like I was just kind of um, I had agents in Orlando and Miami and Tampa, and I was doing projects and I was doing things there.
Hmm.
But I just felt like I wanted to do this on a bigger scale. I wanted to work in TV. I wanted to do bigger films. I wanted to do that, and that's really why I moved. But um yeah, I probably did it a little bit different than a lot of people. I mean, I hear stories of people all the time. They're like, "Well, I just moved to Hollywood," and I'm like, "Why would you live in Hollywood?" But anyway, that's
And listen, I when I came out here, I said I could work with these people. They nutty, but I need to go. So I need to go home and where there's some kind of order, because I was like, well, and I was thrust into this. If you had told me this 35 years ago, all I would have said was, okay, Jessica, why don't you tell me who your drug dealer is? Because I want some of that crazy crap that you talking about. Are you insane? And do you still have room to grow? What have you learned about you just in the process of being a producer? Because you might have came in with one thinking and you realized that you had to think, you had to grow, you had to change the way your attitude was. Because I'm like, you can't change the situation, change your attitude toward it.
Yeah.
So when did you know that this was going to be it? And you were, how long have you been out here?
I moved out in October of 2004. So, and I started doing TV in 2012.
Hmm.
So, I mean, really, television. I started on Chef Wanted with Anne Burrell, and I was started just doing TV, and it seemed to me at the time to be easier to break into unscripted than scripted.
Hmm.
So that was, the route I took, and I love it. But yeah, I feel like maybe that's when I really started thinking, okay, this is my path. This is what I'm going to do. I had produced things before. I had produced events, and I was doing um, different celebrity red carpet charity events and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So I like the process of making something happen, and I feel like I still like that process. And I've worked with a nonprofit, and it's still doing, making things happen, producing
Hmm.
stuff, doing whether it's events or um, doing it, whether it's like producing events and making something happen that way, or for a nonprofit versus television or telling a story. I love the storytelling part of it, and I like seeing people's reaction
Hmm.
to what you've done or created, and then you get people seeing it on the screen, and you get reactions, and they talk about it after, and they tell their friends, and just listening to those conversations to me is always just super exciting. So, um, yeah, I don't I don't know if I answered your question.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
You gonna tell me. You gonna tell me. So when you're like, tell people about you, how you got here. What was your life like when you were 12 years old?
Oh, I was an ice skater. I loved ice skating, which is weird because I was in Florida. But yeah, I was when I
Hey,
was
if they can
12.
have a listen, if we can have a Jamaican bobsledding team, you could be ice skating in Florida. Okay,
Touche. That is so true. Yeah,
exactly.
I I was working in our restaurants. I was working
Oh,
every
so this was a family business.
yeah, oh yeah. I started working when I was 7. So
Wait a minute. Don't they have laws about child labor in
child
Florida?
labor laws. Your parents own it. Yeah, no,
Now,
I did.
is the restaurant still going? And have they thought that you were like crazier than a Betsy bug when you came? What was that conversation like? Well, family, I'm moving to Hollywood.
Yeah, it was no, I was lucky. Like my parents were very supportive, and were like, "Yeah, you should try." I had that feeling like if I don't try, I'm always going to wonder, right?
And
If you
see,
don't
and we don't have time for that. Life is too short. I would rather get into the fight, get into the dog fight. They might whoop my behind, but it won't be an easy win. They gonna come away with some scratches and some knocks and some ooh there. Look at that looky loo. Got a big knot on the side of your head because and you have to stand in this business because it changes so frequently. I mean, when you talk about the storytelling, and now that we have the advent of okay, the internet and artificial intelligence, how are you going to how do you address artificial intelligence and what is your take on it? Because you said you do unscripted, and is it really unscripted, Jessica? Is it really unscripted? I mean, I watch some of them shows so they give me a headache because I'm like, really, you 45, 50 years old, now you want to go find another husband? Girl, go somewhere and pound sand. What's wrong with y'all? I don't get it. And I'm old fashioned. I've been with the same man for 52 years. So what do I know? Anything. I don't know what I'm talking about. But that's what I want to know. You do unscripted. Is it really unscripted? Or are
okay.
they just telling stories about their life? Why am I whispering to you?
You're like, tell me on the side. Yeah. I Okay. So it is unscripted.
Mm,
I believe there are certain shows that are less unscripted than others. Like I think it's there's a range there. what I would do is I prep a story, right?
Mhm.
Prep a show, prep a, if there's someone who is going to be on the show, I talk to
Mhm.
them. I find out
Mhm.
about what their day to day could be, right?
Mhm.
So based upon those conversations, I would draw
Mhm.
up something that shows, hey, I put this together. Does this feel like an actual real typical, and it's not like I'm writing out, you know, Joe says this and Tom says this, right? It's not like a script, but it's like writing out scenes that I could see
Mhm.
happening between them, knowing, for instance, I did a show called Side Hustlers for Hello Sunshine.
See, I'm glad you brought that up because
Yeah.
that's my next thing. Go ahead.
Okay, it was a great, and it was all my showrunner was female. We had a lot of women on our crew. Kimberly Goodman was our showrunner, and we just had such a great time. I remember looking out one day we were filming one of our side hustlers down a street near our house. We're doing the kind of like a walk and talk scenario, and this little girl walked by and she said, "That's what I want to do. I want to do this when I get older. I want to produce." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." And then I looked and they were all women. We were my sound person, everybody, camera person, everyone was a woman. I went, "You like ladies, look at us." Like, and this little girl just walked by. It was so cool. But yeah, so I would map out kind of what I thought could happen.
Mhm.
And then I would say, "Hey, do you normally do this on a Wednesday? Okay, we're gonna come there on that Wednesday. Do you think can you help us set this up? And could we film this with your friend, or your mom or whatever on this particular day?" So it was all based in reality, but there has to be a structure to it. So there has to be, like, oh yeah, I would normally call so and so, and I, maybe, I normally do that on Tuesday, but yes, I could do it on Wednesday, or you know
Mhm.
what I mean? It's like little things like that that we have to kind of know what we're going into, what we're getting, or what we could potentially get.
Mhm.
But it's not like I'm sitting there saying like, "We'll say it this way," or whatever. It's like they're gonna talk the way they talk,
Mhm.
but it's a matter of you have to have some sort of structure. You can't just be running.
All willy nilly, just saying whatever comes off the top of your head. See, that's what I was like.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, I mean, I talk enough, and for people and everything, and so it's really something when you know what it is that you're supposed to be doing, and I would have never thought that I would be doing this for 1,100 years, but when it calls you, did you? Because obviously you were called, you were summoned to your purpose because that's what you do. You wake up every day and you jump out of bed and you say what? When you first jump out of bed, you go, just up.
When I first came out of bed, oh my gosh,
Something's got to
I
keep you going.
what would it, I mean, I guess I just think like, oh, I think about what I am doing for that day, I guess.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I have a son, I have a 7-year-old, and he is
Well,
amazing.
it's a good thing you pretty because you are nuttier now that you got a 7-year-old. Oh my!
I
And they
do, I
want to know
do.
everything. They want to know, and they can tell when you're not being honest with it. You want to find out about a person's personality. Put them in front of a child or an animal because they will let you know. You didn't think, and kids are really good at it. Well, dogs, animals are too. They can smell foul stuff, and that's why they're animals. And
Yeah.
and so and we are animals too. And we can work with what we have. I'm not always saying jumping out of the bed because it's got to be something that gets you up, that gets your juices going. Do you get up and do you run? Do you get one of them $12 cups of coffee? You know,
I
I went
don't
into one of
have
those stores again. I'm
that.
not allowed to have caffeine. That's just, across the board. Mother Love cannot have caffeine. Could you imagine me on caffeine? Well, they saw me on caffeine and they sent a note around production. Nobody gives Mother Love any caffeine. She can't have caffeinated tea, caffeinated water. I'm like, well, what's the point? Why would you not? Why would you have decaffeinated coffee? Aren't you drinking it for the caffeine? That's
I
like non-alcoholic beer. Why?
Well, I mean, we did kinda cut back with I have, like, half decaf, half regular, but
Mhm.
I also have coffee that I make. I make it at home primarily. Like I was really into that whole, thing of going out and getting the $12 coffee for a bit, but yeah, I pretty much make it at home now. So I what gets me going? I get excited about, I mean, I read a script last night, and I was asked to give notes and I did. And it's a really great script. It deals with an intervention actually.
Oh,
And then I gave notes and we talked about it today, and we're gonna, I'm excited to like work on a budget for it. And it's just I like all that stuff. I like seeing like I can take numbers and put them to a budget, and then I can look and I can go, okay, I like to go line item by line item
mhm, mhm.
with my budgets. And then I say like, okay, what do we need? These kind of lenses? Do we need this camera? What do we need? And that makes me, I don't know, I get excited about stuff. I mean, I do the creative stuff too. So I
Mhm.
write, I write things. I'm a creative, but it's when you can kind of mold those two things together, and you can you're finding out what this specific creative is, and
Mhm.
you're doing the logistics for that, and you're making it all work together. That's like the
And
coolest.
that, and especially when you take something from your thought, from your heart, and put it out there. And you seem to be the kind of person that, the sky's the limit. Are you your biggest critic?
Um,
Or taking you too long to
Honestly,
answer? You don't want people to know that. Never mind. Already, he was like,
I
wait.
mean, not I don't know, like, I mean, as far as myself, or you mean, like, projects? Because projects are, like, I look at them and I think we get to a good point where,
Mhm,
we've gone through, like, rounds of notes, and then it gets to the a place where, you're like, "Yeah, it's ready." Like,
mhm,
it's ready, to be seen. I think the same thing with scripts. Like I like to have readings and have it read out loud so that people can um no
I
oh,
don't know what the heck going on over here, but y'all better get off my phone.
oh, okay. um
I don't think I ain't got to talk to this.
but
Oh, do I take a picture of myself? Okay, there we go. So when you're getting the project, getting from your heart, from your head to going through it, and sometimes they get up in your juice and get up in your Kool-Aid, and you can't let them go. How do you disconnect once from a project? Because when I first did my first movie, I didn't know what the heck was going on. I mean, I was surprised they would even call me to do a movie. I'm like, I'm there. I could do that. And I was like, they kept, the phrase they say, okay, after you shoot the scene, and then they'll go, okay, check the gate. So, and we're in this big mansion down in Florida, big mansion, and the driveway is way down the street. And so I'm looking down the street and they say, check the gate. And I'm like, nobody's at the gate. Why do they want to check the gate? So I asked somebody, I said, okay, what does that mean? And from that point on, I wanted to know what everybody's job was, what they did. Could I do that? And I would not allow a person to be, if I'm not willing to do it, and that's not my job, and I'm not willing to do it, I would trust the team. I have to trust the team. And I didn't know anything about that, but when I left that shoot, I knew all that, and I learn all the time. Because this is like medicine. We kind of practice in the entertainment industry. Doctors and attorneys, they're practicing medicine, they're practicing law, we're practicing life. And to be able to disconnect, and when you do disconnect, you have to kind of sit back and let it marinate. How long has been your longest marination when you looked at a project and you knew it was something that it needed to be done, but you just, because you know how y'all get, how producers get stuck in your neck and like, okay, what is it? What is it?
it's I so I think the readings help. Readings help. Having people read get their material read out loud.
Mhm,
I feel like that really helps. I was a part of a theater company for a while where we were, neo ensemble theater, where we were, we have writers, and people could write scenes or whatever, and then
Mhm.
have actors do it on stage and show, showcase the work. And that always, I feel like, sparks something, in the way it could be some like the way someone says something,
Mhm.
the way they do like an action, with the script or whatever. Just seeing that, I feel like, helps the writers. As far as getting stuff kind of off, or I mean, I have projects that I was pitching 10 years ago that, I took, because I like to create decks and sizzles,
Mhm.
and then I take those to networks, and then I try to sell shows, and so it's, in a way, people might go, "Oh, well, that's not, you don't know if that's going to be a reality, or that's a pipe dream, right?" But I don't know, I guess. Call me an optimist. But
And that's good. We need optimistic people out here in the realm. With all the
yes,
crazy that's going on in the world, we
yes,
either going laugh to keep from crying, or like Kamala Harris said, listen, we ain't got time to be, to throw our hands up. It's time for us to roll up our sleeves. And so, and this is, people might not think that, politics and the industry, go hand in hand, but we kept a lot of people going, and I was just so proud of everybody who were willing to put their lives on the line when they were on the picket line, working and asking for fair wages. It's enough money for everybody, and everybody want to close everything to the vest. Oh no, I'm not giving her anything. Oh no, she'll take it and make it better than I can. And that's another thing as well. People get so jealous over just the stupidest stuff, wasting so much time. When you're on a you're shooting your dailies and everything, because you have to. Or do they still shoot dailies? I've been with the whole digital world. I'm confused about it. Just moving too much.
oh,
The computer could look like this and this, sound like Mother Love. That is not me. And to be able to, how will, in your opinion, how do you think artists like yourself and the actors and everybody that AI is going to that they're gonna go do the artificial intelligence. My brain is going faster than my mouth. Where's your position on that, and do you think it would still allow us to be creative when a machine could do
I did a movie, it's in post, called We Never Sleep, and it's about
it?
um, AI. It's about this company who hires AI to go after people that are not being PC at work. And it's about, them trying to, first it's just reports are happening, and then all of a sudden the AI has a mind of its own and starts taking over and starts um, getting these people, right? So people start disappearing, and it's a very it's I mean, that's a there's a statement in there, obviously, about um the, PC world as well as AI.
That's
Um,
politically correct with artificial intelligence.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Like,
that
because
just sounds stupid. It just sounds stupid.
it's with oh, yeah, well, it's like this company comes, they essentially decide, okay, if these people aren't being politically correct, then we're gonna, remove them from the company. But then the AI takes over and gets their own mind, right? So it's like a statement on AI. It's a fun way, right, to talk about these subjects, like the, PC world, also AI. But
Wait a minute, are we politically correct? Oh, well, see, that went over my head. That PC, politically correct, right? That's what it still stands for, right?
mhm.
That went way over my. I'm like, I don't know what politically correct is. Whatever come up, gonna come. I'm totally not PC at all. I call them like I said. What they gonna do? They can't fire me.
That's what I that's the whole thing, is like that the directors of this and writers of this project, Rashawn Mines and Renhorn Wang, thought that they just were like, we are in a world where you can't say anything anymore, and they wanted to make a statement about that, which I thought was really interesting. And I liked the idea of bringing AI into it, because it's now saying that, if you aren't PC, hey, maybe AI is going to take over. But I've seen AI Some people are really into the chat, GPT, like where you're saying something and then it brings something out. I think it's gonna help in certain ways. It can maybe help do like character breakdowns or things like that, but
Mhm.
you're still gonna need writers, you're still gonna need creatives and people to um, to do what they do.
Mhm.
I really don't I don't like AI. So
It's
I'll
kind of creepy. Let me.
it's creepy to me.
I
Yeah.
cook all the time, and people. I still cook all the time. I cook breakfast and dinner for my husband every day. But for every day, got a Y in it for the most part. And people always saying, "Oh, mother love, you need to write a cookbook." I'm like, "What am I write a cook? Just come over here and sit down and eat." That was it. And so I said, "Well, I'm gonna do something with this." So I took my recipes and I read them to the AI. And I just said, for instance, I'll say, okay, make me a recipe for Mother Loves Black and Salmon Salad. Boom, 2 seconds. I'm like, oh, this is too much. It's like that. You know what I call a computer? You know what I call all this stuff right here? EC, electronic crack. Because we act like we cannot do without these these widgets and people get so caught up in that. I still like the human touch. Like my husband would say to me, when it was coming out, I'm like, oh, I think I'm nervous about that. It's gonna take over my job. He was like, you got somebody got to plug the machine up. If the machine ain't plugged up, you ain't going nowhere with it. And that helped get me off the roof because we still would have control. I'm just concerned about, especially the young people coming in, who are and they're learning a whole different way than we are. When you see it, what do you see? Do you no? That's what I want to ask. I want to ask you because you do multiple things. You do stage plays, you do shorts, and I asked you this at the beginning of our conversation. Is it more difficult to do a short than a feature?
It's I don't think it's more difficult. I just
Mhm,
think it's your the process is essentially the same. I mean,
mhm,
it's, you're still, I mean, depending on how short the short is, right? If the short is like under 5 minutes, it's like, okay, how do you have a character arc and all that like within a short period of time or what, sure, making the story what you want it to be in a short period of time.
mhm,
Sure, that could be difficult, right? Especially if you want a certain thing to happen with this person or that person or wherever they are, the location or a character arc for these people. But it's essentially the same. I mean, I'm still doing a reading. I'm still working with the writers on the script. I'm still casting. We're filming it. We're in post. I mean, it's all the things. I mean, you're raising money. You're just not raising as much money, and you're just not shooting as long. You might be shooting 3 days instead of 20 days.
mhm.
And then post, doesn't generally take as long, right? So I feel like it's all the same though. It's the process of telling the story is the same. The aftermath of it might be slightly different because you might be looking at different film festivals than you would if you were doing like a feature.
Mhm.
Or a feature, you might just go, we're just gonna go get, distribution. We're gonna look for distribution right away. So I think it's just like it's very, very similar though to me in the process. It's
Mhm.
just a lot of people would say, "Oh, well, short isn't as much work." It can be for sure. It's a lot of work.
Mhm.
It's generally just the length of your shoot isn't as long, and but the post process can be. I don't mean like in post production. I mean like I see we have pre production, you have production, you have post production, but then you have post, which is all the festivals. It's like spreadsheets of festivals and when they're due and all this stuff, and then it's talking to distributors, and you can sell shorts on Shorts TV or Amazon or whatnot. So I there is still that process of doing all of that, and it does take time. So but yeah, I think the only part that could be people might think is a little bit harder is how do you tell a full story in a short period of time?
Now, what constitutes? What are the parameters to be considered as a short?
Well, it varies per like, I mean, it's generally under like 60 minutes, but I mean,
Oh,
it,
okay.
it varies for like, there's some film festivals that are different, it just depends on like where you're submitting. There's some that have different categories. I've seen some film festivals where they have the shorts that are, under a certain length.
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of festivals want you to try to keep stuff to about 15 minutes. I mean, I know that a lot of the film blocks are about an hour and a half long. So if you have a block that's from 12 to 1:30 and you have a short film that's 40 minutes, you're hoping that that film can bring in a lot of people to the seats. Otherwise,
Mm.
you're going to be, essentially they want to pack the house, right? When they have
Right.
these
Get those
festivals.
butts in the seat. Yes.
So yeah, so if you have, I mean, I typically try to keep my shorts to like around, 15 or under. But I mean, but I say that, but then under was 20 minutes. So it's like, it doesn't mean you're not going to get into festivals just because it's longer or whatever. I mean, if the content is there, it's there.
People will come.
If they want it, they're gonna make room for it, right? So
I would think they would. I mean, I've been to several of the film festivals, and there's just so many talented people out there, and it's enough for everybody. And I like when they have the international film festival, so you can see, and hear what other cultures are like. And one of the biggest reasons that I love the entertainment industry is because we ought to learn from each other. I want to make it sure, put down footprints to make sure that the ones that are coming behind me know that they can stand on our shoulders, because this is a collaborative. You just can't, the people say, oh, I'm a self-made. You are not a self-made anything. Go somewhere, sit down, and stop talking stupid. Oh, I'm a self-made man. No, you're not. You did not self unless you print money, and that's illegal. Okay, you're gonna go to jail if you did it all yourself. And we got to work together. Where do you see, especially as a collaborative, where do you see where artists and tech people can come together with the new artificial intelligence and the way it's changing so fast? Are we able to keep up with it, or our world is moving so fast we won't know what to watch, what to do, because it is so much information?
I feel like um I feel like there's gonna be some sanctions put on AI. I feel like it's moving very fast right now at a point where I think it'll catch up to where, it'll slow down. But yeah, I feel like I know I see, people are saying, "Oh, I love AI," and all that. In the comments, and I think it can be really useful. It can be great for obviously health and certain things,
Hmm.
that it can be really, really useful for and good for society. I think that a lot of creatives are worried about it taking over creative jobs. I know there's some things that are already like, it is taking over in some ways where there's mock-ups or um, things like, oh, we need a mock-up of this. Oh, we can just put it into AI and we can just get a mock-up. We don't have to hire someone to do that now. So I feel like it is going to take away some jobs, but it's not going to take away all of them. So it's going to be an interesting balance, and it's just hard because we're coming off of both these strikes. Um, the
And coming
strikes,
through COVID-19, a
yes,
million of us didn't make
yes.
it, but the ones that did, and now they got a whole word for it, the long haulers from COVID-19, and we had to readjust and for something that, and I kept telling people, we've had pandemics before. Some of us gonna make it, some of us will not make it. Make sure that you stay well enough to take care of yourself, because I see that a lot, especially in this industry, where they don't take care of themselves. They're self-medicating. They wondering, what happened and when did it get away from me? And you got to, figure out how to make that work for you, because you're gonna hear more no's than you're ever gonna hear more yeses. That's why you gotta have your own production company. So what would you say to a young lady? Now do you go around to the schools and speak and share your story?
I have, yeah.
Mhm.
I recently had someone reach out to me. He's a student at CSUN, and he reached out to me through IMDb and said, "Hey, would you take some time to talk to me?" And we talked for a couple hours, and he's,
Mhm.
just like trying to figure out like what he should do like once he graduates, and Yeah, and I do career day and I talk to students. I tell them about what a producer does, and there's so many different producers. I mean, there's a field producer, if you're supervising producer, there's all these different producers,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
So try to like kind of distinguish. I mean, there's people who produce music and there's people who produce plays and there's so many different facets to that. And we talked a little bit about nonprofits and events and all
mhm.
that too, right? So it's not just TV and film, but I love talking to kids. I love talking to young kids and as well as people who are in college or people
Mhm.
who are considering this for a job and or just curious about it. I think I have an interesting story because I was not doing this, and then I got into it, later. In life. I was always interested. I always thought it would be cool, I remember being a kid and being like, "Oh, wow, that would be so neat to be an actor or a model or something," and, um, so I feel like there might be people who are thinking about that and thinking that same way, but they don't have access to it or, they don't have, like, the ability to go to classes or they haven't been approached by an agent, right? They're
Mhm.
not you know, in that world, but, that's what's really great about
Well,
online and things like this, right? Or
mhm.
radio shows or podcasts and all of that because I feel like we can share information and help other people and maybe inspire someone to do something similar if they're interested in that,
'Cause,
right?
this is our part of our assignment. I'm sure you heard the phrase, "Those that can do, those who cannot teach."
Mhm.
And it's important that we are good teachers and solid teachers and give them the information that they need. Now, oftentimes, young people don't want to listen to you because they think you was born on Jupiter someplace. What do you know about love? You got the same husband. How you gonna know? I'm like, what? And I don't want to. When they took the arts out of school, that broke a lot of people down. And when you think about it, I couldn't even imagine going to school and there was no art program, there was no theater, there was no band. We had all the nervous teenage energy, but that we could put it someplace. And they keep saying, well, the kids are going wild. No, the parents have stopped taking their foot off the gas. Ain't nowhere in God's green earth. I would have a kid living in my house, gonna raise your voice at me, you're gonna slam my door. Listen, you're gonna slam my door, and I'm going to the penitentiary because I'm gonna cut you long, short, deep, wide, and often. And I don't need a razor blade or a knife. And that's what we got to be encouraging. Will you just share with us and share with the younger people who are going to download this and are listening live? What would be your top three pieces of information, the nuggets that you would like that you want to share with young people, and why this would be a great industry to be in? What would you tell them?
Oh, yeah. I mean, as far as like what that student did, reaching out, like I feel like that's a huge thing. I think it's always, you can always ask, right? You can always ask someone for help or for guidance or to just like stay in touch or if they know someone else who if there's like a writer and they want to talk to other writers, I like connecting people. So
Mhm.
I like doing that. Not everyone is into that, right? But I like trying to help when I can or
It's a
where I
skill
can.
set. It's a skill
Yeah,
set to be able to connect with other people. And like you said, a lot of people can't do that. That's not in their wheelhouse. Let them stay. Like I tell everybody, I stay in my lane. I know
yeah.
what I'm doing. Let me just stay in my lane. I'm not trying to be a singer because if I start singing, you're gonna start throwing food. And I said, well, wait a minute, I got a grocery list right here. Wait a minute, can you throw a whole dozen of eggs? Just hand me the egg. Okay, two tomatoes, not a whole bunch, just two tomatoes. And can you not throw it? Can you just gently toss it into my basket? Uh-uh. Mm-mm. My mother called my singing caterwauling. So you got to know where your strength is and where your weaknesses are. And are you still growing?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Always, like always. There's always something that you can learn from, even if you've done 10 features, right? It's like you can always learn something new from not only a new project, like a new script or a new, thing or like learning new techniques like in
Mhm,
post or VFX or working with new people right? Someone else who maybe sees something differently than you do, and
Mhm.
you can always grow in that regard. And and yeah, to answer your question about the three things, I mean, as far as working in this industry, I mean, it's really fun. I mean, it can be really, really fun. It can be, as you said, sometimes you get up and you don't always get everything right, or I forget how you worded it. Sorry, but it's true. It's like you're not going to get every single audition, or you're not going to get every single, you're not going to work on every single script, or you're not going to. There's going to be a lot of rejection, I guess, is the point. But if you look at it from the other side, I feel like you can look at the positive of that and look at the things you are focused on and the things you're working on. And I think it can be just a really fun, collaborative, creative job
Mhm.
that you can do well in. Um, Working with others, working your way up. Um, Trusting the process, knowing the process, working, you can work as, I mean, as a PA, and work your way up and be a coordinator and be a production manager, and work it just depending on, like, if you want to do logistics or if you want to do creative or whatever. Really, really keep knocking on doors and keep asking for suggestions, or just ask people to take a little bit of time to talk with you. All of that can help. So,
Thank you so much. I always enjoy chatting with you and finding out what's going on in your life and everything. Tell people if they want to pitch you something, tell them how they can get in touch with you.
yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm
Mhm.
on IMDb Pro. So if people want to reach out there, go ahead, and I'd love to, see your stuff or read or just talk or whatever. So,
Well,
yeah.
this is the whatever who has 14 different hats. I told you at the beginning, I think she part Jamaican because you work your tail off. And it's not that other people don't, but we just all you get it. You get it. It is always a joy. Thank you so much for joining us today. And just let us to collectively say thank you, Carlos Martinez, for hooking us up
Thank you. Thank
again.
you, Carlos
You
Martinez.
enjoy yourself, enjoy the holidays. Listen, and if you get some from me. I'm back, bro. I'm just see, like a man just went to the toilet. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, oh, here it is.